Mention something to Ronnie P. Gossett and to you, Master of Pain. You're big and bad, but brother, we got a little special surprise, a little special challenge for you. Take a look at this man that's going to be coming right in here right now. I want you to see what's in store for you. That's all right. Don't worry about it. The only man that needs to worry about him is the Master of Pain and Ronnie P. Gossett. Is that right?
1, 2, Freddy's coming after you.
In the wild, unregulated world of 1980s professional wrestling, copyright laws and horror icons often collided in spectacular fashion. Few examples capture that chaotic energy better than Nightmare Freddy, a blatant ripoff of Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare on Elm Street, complete with the striped sweater, fedora, and razor glove. For a brief, surreal moment in the late 1980s, Memphis wrestling audiences watched a Freddy Krueger clone terrorize the ring, slashing through opponents in a strange but unforgettable blend of pop culture theft and wrestling creativity. He wasn't just a copy of Wes Craven's Dream Demon, he was the outlaw version, born not in Hollywood, but in a smoky Tennessee arena where copyright laws went to die. The fans cheered, the kids screamed, and somewhere in Hollywood, lawyers drafted papers. This was Memphis wrestling, wild, lawless, and full of borrowed nightmares. The mid-1980s Memphis wrestling scene was known for its willingness to push boundaries. Promoters Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler constantly searched for new ways to shock and entertain their fiercely loyal Southern fan base. Unlike national promotions that toured the country, Memphis ran the same towns week after week, which meant the territory had to reinvent itself constantly to keep audiences coming back. The result was a uniquely chaotic form of storytelling that blurred the line between parody, performance, and pure madness. Nowhere else did wrestling feel so much like a late-night B-movie come to life. One week, fans might see a blood-soaked grudge match in the Mid-South Coliseum. The next, they'd be introduced to a wrestler dressed as the Christmas creature. So it came as no surprise that sooner or later, movie monsters would find their way into the ring. By the late 80s, early 90s, horror movie mania was in full swing. A Nightmare on Elm Street had become a cultural phenomenon, spawning sequels, Halloween costumes, and a merchandising empire built on the image of Freddy Krueger. Memphis wrestling, always quick to capitalize on whatever was hot, saw an opportunity. In the anything goes world of Memphis, someone inevitably asked the question that summed up the entire territory's creative philosophy. Why not have Freddy Krueger in the ring? Nightmare Freddy arrived in the United States Wrestling Association clad in the unmistakable red and green striped sweater, brown fedora, and razor-tipped glove made famous by A Nightmare on Elm Street. The character was a masked menace, billed as an unstoppable force from your worst nightmares. His entrance music echoed the eerie tones of the film's score, and his matches leaned into pure B-movie theatrics. No selling and acting like a real monster. Yet in one of wrestling's great ironies, the character based on a horror icon who slaughtered teenagers in their sleep was portrayed as a babyface. Memphis fans cheered as the Dream Demon fought on their side, even teaming with Dustin Rhodes in an unlikely tag team pairing that turned one of cinema's greatest villains into a Southern hero. Nightmare Freddy was just the beginning of the movie monster era in Memphis wrestling. Following his unexpected popularity, and yes, Freddy was actually over with the crowd, the promotion doubled down on the horror gimmick. Soon after, they introduced Jason, modeled after the Friday the 13th killer, to team with Freddy in a tag partnership that brought slasher cinema straight into the squared circle. Behind the makeup and mayhem, Nightmare Freddy was in fact portrayed by Tommy Gilbert, wearing a simple rubber mask. Gilbert, the father of the late Eddie Hot Stuff Gilbert and Doug Gilbert, temporarily stepped away from his refereeing duties to wrestle once again, though this time he chose to do it under a mask. A respected veteran of the Southern Territories, Tommy was known for his technical skill and reliability inside the ring. During this period, Tommy's Nightmare Freddy even feuded with a hulking newcomer known as the Master of Pain, a young wrestler who would eventually rise to global fame as The Undertaker. Eventually, Tommy's son, Doug Gilbert, took over the Nightmare Freddy gimmick, even taking it overseas to Japan, where horror-inspired wrestlers were embraced with cult-like enthusiasm. In one of the most infamous incidents involving the character, who was already a legal gray area to begin with, Doug and his brother Eddie Gilbert sparked controversy during the penultimate match of the Wing Tag Team Tournament on November 26, 1993. Wrestling as Freddy Krueger, Doug laid down in the middle of the ring, allowing Eddie, performing under his boogeyman gimmick, to pin him in just a few seconds. The referee, clearly reluctant, counted the fall as the stunned audience looked on. After the match, the Gilbert brothers tore off their masks in open defiance. Doug grabbed the microphone and launched into a shoot-style rant, verbally attacking the Wing promoters and owners, and declaring their loyalty instead to Giant Baba and All Japan Pro Wrestling. In reality, the stunt was a public attempt to jump ship in search of better pay and stability, but it backfired. The incident led to the Gilberts' immediate dismissal from Wing, and their All Japan deal never materialized. Freddy's most notable accomplishment came in 1996 when he won the USWA Battle Royal, earning a ticket to compete in the WWE Royal Rumble that same year. However, the Nightmare Freddy gimmick, already a legal gray area, was not approved by WWE. As a result, Doug made a single appearance in the World Wrestling Federation under his own name rather than as Freddy. Entering the 1996 Royal Rumble at number 14, he lasted a brief 3 minutes before being eliminated by Vader, marking a fleeting but memorable moment in his career, and a symbolic end to the Freddy persona in mainstream American wrestling. Eventually, a copyright claim from the movie's production company brought Freddy's adventures in Memphis to an end. By the mid-1990s, wrestling's reliance on bootleg movie characters, including Jason the Terrible, Leatherface, and Freddy, began to fade as promotions grew more cautious and corporate. Even promotions that experimented with horror villains abroad, like FMW in Japan, faced similar intellectual property concerns, forcing wrestlers and promoters to adapt or abandon these gimmicks entirely. Doug Gilbert continued his wrestling career across the independent circuit and in Japan, occasionally referencing his time under the mask and even donning it for select indie appearances. His final recorded appearance as Nightmare Freddy came on August 14, 2021, when he teamed with Danny DeManto in a losing effort at ICW No Holds Barred in San Antonio, Texas. Even decades later, the character's legacy lived on as a cult favorite among wrestling fans, a reminder of the wild, anything-goes creativity of Memphis wrestling and the era of horror-inspired gimmicks. Today, Nightmare Freddy stands as a symbol of a lawless, imaginative era of professional wrestling. A time when local promotions could mix Hollywood horror and Southern storytelling to create something simultaneously absurd and fascinating. Doug Gilbert's portrayal of the character, following in his father's footsteps, added a strange familial twist to the monster mythos, turning Freddy Krueger from Elm Street's Nightmare into a Memphis ring legend. Though short-lived, Nightmare Freddy remains a cult favorite among wrestling fans who appreciate the weird and wild corners of the business. He's remembered not just as a ripoff, but as part of the chaotic DIY creativity that defined territorial wrestling. A reminder that sometimes the most entertaining nightmares happen in the squared circle. When all was said and done, Nightmare Freddy didn't conquer the world, but he did conquer Memphis, and maybe a few nightmares along the way. Doug Gilbert's run as Nightmare Freddy proved that in wrestling, anything can get over. Even a knockoff horror villain with a discount glove and a dream. Sure, he only lasted 3 minutes in the Royal Rumble, but Freddy's spirit lived on in every wrestler who ever borrowed an idea and hoped no one at New Line Cinema noticed.